Community Farm Alliance, the Organic Association of Kentucky, various national and regional branches of the USDA, and as well as KDA to support these markets, and of course the local extension offices that you're about to hear the perspective from. These organizations rely on the university's extensive budgets, crop and marketing publications, price reports, in-person and virtual training support, and other resources to better serve their farmers markets and the producers in those markets. So I'll now pass the floor on to Lindy Huffman.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing us to share the story of collaboration, because that's what we're here today. The success of the Pendleton County Farmers Market is due to all of the existing programs that are established in the state and taking all of that information and compiling it together to tell our story. And I'm here on behalf of our 34 vendors. If you'll take a look at the screen, in 2013, when I started as a county extension agent, I actually started the year before, but I was only there to put out fires for the Pendleton County Farmers Market. In 2013, we had 6 vendors. Today, we're on par to have 38 vendors in our small rural town of 14,000 for the entire county. And we are a testament that sampling is more important than restrooms, because without sampling, we would not have our restrooms today. And in 2022, you can see our beautiful building, which was funded with 89% grant funds, and 134,000 came from the Kentucky Office of Ag Development through the Farmers Market program. The rest came from Rural Business Development and through USDA and a few other sources that were local grant opportunities. And that building is a catalyst for the center of community. And the thread that runs through all extension programs, especially in my programming as county extension agent, is community and economic development. I always tell everybody that's my ulterior motive. I don't just talk about cows, plows, and sows, or tomatoes and corn, because farmers markets are so much more than that. And our market was established in the 1980s. It's seen some growth, so there's a lot of history there, and we still have the father of the farmers market as a member. And that building that you see was constructed on the home, the original home of where the farmers market was established, which is the Pendleton County Fairgrounds. So through partnerships and collaborations, through extension, and with our farmers markets, with our farmers, local business owners, and entrepreneurs, artisans, bakers, craft people, we are a 100% local market, and we've been able to grow and create a center for community. If you'll advance, please. So that's how it's going. And when we think about farmers markets being so much more than corn and tomatoes, that's our tagline. It is my personal mission in life of keeping farmers farming and keeping families fed. And there's no better way to do that than through farmers markets. And people like Sharon Spencer have inspired me to be a champion for local food. And that's exactly what we're doing. So when I think about farmers markets of being so much more, I utilize the 7 capitals framework as a way to think about. So there's 7 capitals. We obviously have built capital, which would be our building, financial capital through grants and local funding and membership dollars, political capital, because it also takes our stakeholders to believe in us to make sure that we have a place to have a facility. Social capital. We are a center for community. We do events at our farmers market like Bark It at Market, which is just a dog-friendly day, because we have people bring their dogs. We have pet costume contests. I will say that my dog won the celebrity look-alike because he dressed up as Lindy County agent in his own vegetable hat. But it's become a personification. And human capital, because farmers markets and limited resource communities like Pendleton County that have limited food access are a center for food access. So we're partnering with the Farmers Market Nutrition Program from the federal level. We're working with other organizations to extend that, like our local Farm Bureau chapter for our Pendleton County Sprouts Kids Club, where kids come, they learn, make and take, and then they each get 5 $1 tokens to spend on the fruit and vegetables of their choice. Historically, our extension office funded that, but our local Farm Bureau has reached out, and now our FFA chapter is helping to teach those programs. My mission in life is when I think about those kids and you meet Keegan, who is our farmers market mascot, who's just one of the market kids, he rings the bell. We don't open sales until 9 a.m., and he rings that bell. And my mission in life is for every child to get that excitement that Keegan has, and when they look up one day, I want them to remember the crazy lady in the hat. I want them to remember those Saturdays spending at the farmers market with people that they loved, celebrating community and championing for farmers and artists, and spending those dollars local, because that's how we make change. That dollar changes hands 7 times before it leaves the community. And because I believe that pictures speak 1,000 words, if you'll advance, These are just some of the pictures of my farmers market family. And that is what we are. We are a family. And when you center community around the farmers market, the opportunities of things and programming and collaboration that you can develop are endless. And when you look at the joy that's seen in those pictures, I particularly like the one with the shovels. Miss Sharon was there at our Farmers Feast, which is also, we utilize grant funds through the Kentucky Proud program. And that event, no one knew. They thought we were going to ask for more money. At that meeting, we actually made the announcement that our building was fully funded. So everybody there, our key stakeholders got big gold shovels. All of our community supporters got golden spades, and even our patrons had a golden shovel so that they could eat that spoon of ice cream with that little golden shovel. And it's about creating unity and community through farmers markets. And that's what we're here to do. So I thank you for the opportunity to share that story of collaboration and speak on behalf of Cooperative Extension and the University of Kentucky College of Ag and all of my farmers that are back home in Pendleton County. Thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation. I think everybody can just see how the excitement oozes out of you, and that's one of the reasons I wanted you to come and share with the committee, and be great if this could be duplicated across the state, and maybe it is, but we just wanted to bring you guys in and give you an opportunity to share, help our colleagues, I guess, see a vision of what could be. And any questions or comments from our committee members? Okay, Representative Hart.
I just want to take the opportunity to brag on Lindy a little bit. She come in, and like she stated earlier, the farmers market was started in the 1980s in Pendleton County. But in 2013, when she come on board, it had dwindled down to a little or nothing. And she's built it up to where you see our brand new permanent home for the farmers market. But what she fails to mention is it's grown so much in the last couple years, we are already in need of another or an add-on to that, because we've got so many participants, and it's been a tremendous success, not only for our local farmers to sell their products, but the tourism and economic benefits that we're getting from the agritourism from it is just phenomenal. That's another area in Pendleton County that we haven't really hit our prime spot yet, but with this and all her efforts and the people that work with her, they've done such a tremendous job. And so I had to take the opportunity to brag on her a little bit, plus welcome her to Frankfort. So.
Thank you.
Representative Graham.
Thank you. He's taken all the words that I was going to say, but I just wanted to say to you, your enthusiasm really promotes the success of what you've been doing. And I know I've known Sharon for a long time. I think she still is in my district. I cannot remember where you are right now, but I believe you still are in my district. But I know the work that she has done for Franklin County and helping our farmers, as well as doing the same thing here, helping with our farmers market. So I want to congratulate all of you, because it is a very important part of the community now, and it does unify the community, because people coming from out in the county and coming to downtown, and people in downtown coming to purchase those items. I think it's a great opportunity for the community, but it's also a united front for the community to support one another. So thank you all so much for what you do.
Representative McPherson.
Yes, I just want to take just a brief commercial here to say that I got the honor to serve for 24 years as the chairman of our Cooperative Extension Board. And, it's every meeting we had, we always tried to say, how can we get the message out to more people? How can we let more people know that this is such a blessing to have in our county? And you exemplify all of that. I really appreciate you.
Anyone else? All right. Well, now the members can see why I asked you guys to come. So thank you, and appreciate your time and effort you put into this, and we'll bring our next group up. Bye. Good morning and welcome. And I understood one of your participants had to leave early, so I'm sorry for getting the program reversed. But I think you guys can handle it. And again, introduce yourself for the record, and the program is yours.
Good morning. I'm Gordon Sloan. I'm the Commissioner of the Department for Natural Resources. I have with me
Corey Troutman, Director for Division of Financial Management in the Energy and Environment Cabinet.
Okay, make sure the green light is on your mic, and you may have to pull it up close.
Okay.
All
Sorry.
right. Yeah. There you go. All right.
So-
Please continue.
Thank you. Chairman, you asked us, where are we as far as the $5 million that was put in the last budget bill? And so Corey's going to talk about that.
All right. Good morning, everyone. The current enacted budget includes the $5 million for the Soil and Water Conservation Commission to establish the Watershed Dam Infrastructure Revolving Fund. And you can see on our slide the language there from the actual budget bill. That $5 million was placed into the Watershed Dam Infrastructure Revolving Fund that we mentioned. It's to be used for grants and not loans. And the Soil and Water Conservation Commission will start accepting applications for these grants in the near future.
Chairman, committee members, you not only ask where are we, but the implication is how did we get here and where are we going? So these watershed dams that we're talking about were constructed by the Department of Agriculture Natural Resources Conservation Service back in the 60s and 70s. They primarily do three things. They provide flood control, water supply, and recreation. Most have an estimated lifetime of 50 years, so if they were built in the 60s and 70s, they've either maxed out or gone beyond their expected lifetime. The dams are maintained to the extent that they are by local sponsors, which can be the county, the city, or the watershed conservancy districts, who are made up of landowners in the area benefited by the dam. Rehabilitation funds are available from the Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS, but they require a 35% match paid by the local sponsors. The NRCS thinks there are three top priorities. You can see them on the screen here. Two of them are in Madison County. That's Red Lick Multi-Purpose Structure number 1 and Red Lick Flood Retarding Structure number 12. The Red Lick number 1, also known as Owsley Fork Lake, has a total estimated cost to rehabilitate it between $14.3 to $20 million, with a local sponsor share being somewhere between 5 and 7. Fortunately, I think it's the city of Berea can make that match. The other two, Red Lick FRS number 12, also known as Pilot Knob Lake, is in Madison County. The total estimated fix on that would be anywhere from 8 to 10 million, with a local sponsor being 2.8 to 3.5 million. The East Fork Clarks River, also known as the Ford or Foust Lake in Marshall County, that's going to cost about $10.5 million, with a local sponsor share of about $3.5 million. There are 200 of these dams across Kentucky. Some are high hazard, and the chairman knows that high hazard does not mean that the dam is about to fail. It merely means that if it did fail, there would likely be loss of life and severe economic damage. I do notice an error. It says the annual benefits of should be 200 dams is about $12.18 million per year. The typical time to complete construction or maintenance on a new rehabilitation project is about 6 to 8 years. It's not an easy or a quick process. Here's a map showing the 48 high hazard dams in Kentucky. As you can see, they're spread from the northeast in Fleming down through Menifee County into Madison, on down south, and then further west as well. We have a lot of these dams in the fault area of western Kentucky. The NRCS looks at about 24 watershed dams as being currently high hazard and not meeting the standards for a high hazard dam. Again, their average construction cost for a dam rehabilitation is somewhere between $2 million and $4 million, but that was estimated prior to 2020, so things have gone up since then quite dramatically. An estimate of the total funding needed for those 24 high hazard dams would be $96 million, with the local share being $33.6 million. So that's where we are, how we got here, and maybe where we need to go.
Thank you, and that's the reason after you guys came and visited with me in the office, and we spent most of our time talking about the Madison County, but then we got to looking at the rest of the state and where we're at and what the long-term projection is, so that the dams been out there approximately 50 years. They're not getting better with age and without maintenance. And I ask, and I'm just sharing with the committee some of our conversation. What's it going to take for us to address this issue going forward? We got to get a plan of action and come up with a dollar amount to even present to the General Assembly. Now, if I understand it right, some of the districts are taxing authorities and can come up with some of this money for the 35%.
They do have taxing authority, but most of those taxes have not been raised since the dams were first constructed. So it might be less than $10,000 a year, which is not going to be enough for a local sponsor share.
Okay, I can pause a minute if some of you guys have questions. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the $5 million that was allocated, you said that was for grants, not loans.
Correct.
Are those specifically for those two Madison County, those two or three there, or how are we deciding who gets that $5 million basically?
It's going to be through the Soil and Water Conservation Commission. They have an application prepared. They're going to be sending those out shortly. And then it probably will be these two dams, the one in Madison County, Red Lick number 12, and the East Fork Clarks River, because they are in the greatest need. But I'm not prejudging.
No, yes. And so the total projected cost for all 200 dams was like 96-ish million prior to the inflation and what we've seen for the last couple of years. Is that 5 million basically coming? Would that bring that down to 91-ish million of the total?
Yes, those 3 dams are included in the 24 dams that they have identified.
So just doing, back of the paper math here, inflation and everything else, or are we talking about a $100 million appropriation request in the next budget cycle to fix these?
I don't think so. I think the primary, the 24 dams minus the 3, the total for that shown on the screen is their best estimate of the local sponsor's share, which is $33.6 million.
But that's what, like, the city of Berea that you mentioned and others would have to come up with. How much would the General Assembly?
Probably, I'm looking at somewhere around $30 million is what I'm thinking, but that's just our best estimate.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Callaway.
Yes, thank you for this information. My question is, how do federal dollars play into this? Because I know that there's been some work done at the federal level to try to help with some of these issues. So I wasn't sure how that works, if that funnels through you, or is that an outside pathway that people are taking as well?
The Natural Resources Conservation Service, they're the ones that provide the 65% match. They do a lot of the work. They prepare guidance on that as well. So that big federal funding does come through the NRCS.
But not through our cabinet.
Right.
Thank you. You can see, I wanted our members to see what a large ticket item it is, and kicking the can down the road is not going to solve the problem. The first one of these that fails and causes loss of life, it's going to fly back in our face. What was the General Assembly doing? Why didn't y'all take, preemptive action and avoid this? So I don't ever want to get to that road where we're having to answer that question. So it starts with making us aware of the problem, giving us a budget to work with, and then just I guess just for conversation purposes, not saying this is the way it should go or needs to go. I just want to continue the conversation. If we go to a revolving loan instead of a grant, does that make sense to either presenters or the other committee members that maybe we could lessen the burden on the state taxpayers and the General Assembly over a long period of time? The taxing districts do have some money, they just can't come up with a lump sum, but they could make payments towards returning some of that money so it could be rolled over into the next project.
I think, as Commissioner Sloan had mentioned before, they would have to raise their tax rate. So I think it's a question of do you want those districts to have to raise their tax rate, or do you all want to allocate funds to offset the sponsorship portion?
I bet I can guess how that conversation would go. Maybe a combination of the two. It seems reasonable that if they still have the same tax rate that they started with 50 years ago, any of us can imagine how much more it should be today. Obviously, you can't make it all up at once, but in increments. So again, let's keep the conversation going. Let's be preemptive on this and try to do something to address this instead of sticking our head in the sand and hoping nothing happens, nothing bad goes wrong. Any other comments or questions before our committee or our presenters? Okay, then if there's nothing else, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.